before I start, so any issues so far? I mean, you are able to practice anything, or you're stuck with anything?
Yeah, I'm able to like practice, like using panel,
Okay.
content padding.
Hmm.
I created like a small screen. I'll show you that towards the end.
Okay.
Um, just wanted to know, like, how to put in like an if else condition. I mean, I tried
Hmm.
to, like, how to identify the ID of a box, right?
Okay.
So I try to debug in the inspect mode, try to look at what that box ID is showing there.
Hmm.
Um, but I my logic wasn't, like that field. I think I got it wrong. That's why it wasn't working.
Okay. Okay. So I'll for to to solve the problem of this small snippets adding, what I'll do is I'll give you small exercises. Okay. So which will help you to which we frequently use also, like some of
Mm,
the like small scenarios. If we are able to add those building blocks gradually, then we'll get used to how do we add to each control, how do we map these logics, etc. So
yeah.
probably just remind me. I'll just make a note of it. I'll prepare small exercises. So the small exercise will help you to get used to adding logics to these all
Yeah.
scenarios.
I think
I
the
think it.
login page exercise that you showed, right?
Okay, right.
That's basically what I tried to kind of replicate, but without actually looking at the code, right? Instead,
Okay, okay,
trying to find a way. So I understood like the power of VBox, right? And
correct.
try to sort of put in some, some classes, SAP pre-delivered classes,
Hmm.
things like that. So yeah, I finally managed to get, I struggled to move them into the center. So, but finally able to get everything in one screen and looking
Hmm.
okay. So,
Yeah. So I think see even most of the things these are like once we understand it, if we get error also it's fine, because if we are able to understand what the error and where exactly it is occurring, then it's all about trying to solve that problem. Now if it says like typo error or some syntax error, or if it says JavaScript logic error, that means you're pinpointing the problem to either view or controller, so that is important. So
yeah, because
view error.
I stopped fighting with that title thing, making it center, both in like Visual Studio and in the SAP Application Studio, Business Application Studio. It is giving error. It just doesn't like it under the pages. So I used panel instead, and
Okay.
inside panel that title the I was able to align items to the center. So
So finally, you were able to, run this login application, and you were able to get this right.
yeah, this I put in like a small if condition there, and then just to
Hmm.
like, well, actually, the yeah, so that O mail, right? That one I don't know where that field is coming from. So um,
Okay, sure. See, in this case, condition-wise, also you can for simple conditions logic, if you want to try instead of message box, etc. These are like UFI controls, so you can use simply console.log also. Okay, so
mm,
console.log, what will do is it will put your message. Suppose you want to put a success message, so this will put in your now just I'll say success, and here
mm,
I'll what I'll do. I'll just comment this, and I'll write it as console.log. So this is generally we do it for testing any logics. So if we this is like cosmetic way of giving. This is just ensuring that this logic is working or not.
yeah, yeah, the
So
JavaScript way.
correct, JavaScript way. So this is like it will give you in the your Chrome debugger console is there. There it will print you if this
Mm,
line got executed. So successfully if it entered else block, that means
mm,
it is a check that our logic is working. Then we can
mm.
give a cosmetic way of giving presenting the same thing error, like okay please verify, or these are like cosmetic way of giving an output. So if you see this is plain dummy. So here only it all it checks is this line. If this condition is right, then it will enter this block. If it fails,
Right.
it enters this block.
So the let's say we create two input list items, right, on the
Okay.
screen. One
Okay.
is username, one is password. How do we know the ID of that field?
Perfect.
That is where I'm stuck now.
Okay, I'll explain that. Now this is our view. Okay, in this case, okay, I actually, you know, This is our continuation exercise where I'll explain further. So if you see here, we have this input and we have label. This is like username field. Now if you see username and you are saying, right? So we have two here. We need to clear. We'll be very careful. See, username is the label part, and
Mm,
input is the one where we actually enter the value. Okay.
mm,
So there could be ID for label as well. Okay. This is your label. Okay. But you should not refer to your label, because your value is not getting stored there. Your value is getting stored in input, this particular value field, right? So we need to fetch this value for a if condition to compare the values. What we have to use is value. So corresponding ID for input, whatever ID we have given. Now I have given ID as mail. If you see this ID in the controller, what I'm saying is this does get you by ID. So I'm giving the mail ID. So mail means this input value, whatever value you have. So get the value. So I'll say get value. So in this mail, OMail, we just create a variable. It could be any name. See, it need not be OMail, etc. It could be any name. So what we are saying is this is the value one. Okay, we have value one stored in this particular variable. Now, how did we get from the view? We said in the view page. This is a view page, right? Main view. Go to view page and identify this particular ID where it exists within this view page, and it exists here, right? And if it exists there, there's a field called value, and try to get the value. Right? You're getting it?
mm.
So we're saying in the view, it identified the mail, then it identified the value part, then it is fetching this value and storing it in value. So equal to stands for value, assignment. So once we have this available, so what we are doing is we're comparing it now. O value one, not equal to blank, and O value one equal to O password. So if it is similar, like we have password field right now. So password field also in the view, go to the ID called password and get the value. Now where do we have the password ID now? Now we have ID password here for this
Uh,
particular.
okay, got it.
So this value we are saying, see, get this value. So whatever value we have it here. So if user is entering it, or if nothing is entered, what would be the value? It would be blank. So in this case, also if they try to run the application, what we are saying is we are doing a check. It should not be empty. Okay, value one cannot be empty, not equal to blank. That means without entering any value, if it's trying to click on login, we're just saying that it cannot be blank. So it always goes to error block if it is empty. If username is empty or password is empty, we can do a check this way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, because when you're so used to using if else condition with SAP fields, right?
I bet
Here
it.
we have to like it's a learning curve. But thank you for the explanation.
So I see. I mean, this approach why I'm saying is you see now if you understood that error, see view errors will come here. So in the problems part, we'll be able to check if there is any error here, like a title error you got. You'll be able to check directly from your ID itself. You have that problem window, right? I think this way,
Mm,
this one.
mm,
So in the
mm,
problems tab, you'll be able to if we have any error at all. So it will automatically pinpoint you. So it says first line you have to check. That's what I'm saying. View line number 20. So it says there's an error at the 20. So ideally it
mm,
could be either above line or it could be below line. Usually
mm,
it will try to precisely point to where possibly it could go wrong. Okay.
mm.
In this case, these are not all the errors actually. So while troubleshooting, important thing to understand is don't look at all the errors. Look at the topmost one. So just go to there. Then you'll understand that it could be either above line or below line generally, or the same line. See, all the next immediate preceding lines are the one where you could have potentially the wrong. Once you fix that, all errors will be resolved. Okay.
I was looking at the very last one.
That's a simple common mistake we generally do. That's the reason. What happens is you try to look at all these errors. You'll be, oh my god, these many errors. So we'll tend to see these are because this is like system prompting. It says like because of this failed. This is like high parent container. So if container failed, all the things
Everything
which we
else.
put inside
Yeah,
will be gone.
yeah, got it. Yep. Thank you.
So this is one thumb rule. And second thumb rule is in the controller. Now we understood if any error in view, it will be noticed and we can figure it out right from the problems pane. But controller, we cannot check it from here. We can check, but that is not very, complex way. It has built-in deep breaking points, etc. But recommended one is Chrome. Now, if we just let me just run it and show you how do we check the controller part. I think you're already familiar, but I'm just rephrasing it. So we'll run this application and see. And the Git issue also it's resolved. I mean, you were trying
Yeah,
last time.
I did. I exactly like how you said, like, just deleted the repository. I think it is taking a bit of a time to update on the Git side. So when I'm refreshing it, I don't see it immediately, or after 2 minutes, it is still not refreshed. Like I went to about 30 minutes or so to, and it hasn't refreshed it. So I kept on like, committing and, just repeating the same thing. And then one mistake I did was I changed the default branch
Hmm.
to the one
Oh,
where I've been pushing. Like it's defaulted on right now main, but
mm-hmm.
then I thought, oh, my commits are all showing on the master one,
Mm-hmm.
so I changed master as the default, and then when I'm doing the commit, command from the terminal, it somehow was kind of messing up with the destination. So
Understood.
I just deleted everything. I just kept the main as a default, and then just gave it like 30 minutes, and then it was all
Okay.
updating in the, yeah.
Yeah, understood. See, one quick correction. See, you need not delete it. So in your case, say if you see on the screen, so if you click on this master, so this is a place where it will tell you which master you wanted to change the destination. Now, in your case, you created one more master. See, in this case, this is my master. Now, if I have one more branch, or if I
Mm,
want to create new branch, I can create the branch from here. So if I create
mm,
as a branch called sub branch, okay. So it will automatically it will point to this sub branch. Now, if you see here below, you're able to see the below bottom footer, right? Blue color footer.
yeah. Mm,
So it got now if I want to change it, I can select master. Now automatically it will change to master. I mean,
mm,
if you have multiple branches, you have to change it here, then you have to do the rest of the commands from here, like push or submit.
mm.
Then it will move to the new branch.
Yeah, mine is always showing as M. Like what I did was when I see the M, right, I
Hmm.
would come click on that plus sign that you have shown me earlier, right?
Okay, see, M, I
Uh,
think it stands for modified, I think. So
yeah,
deleted,
like
modified,
stage.
update, etc., in that way.
Yeah, so unless I add the comment like commit underscore M first commit,
Hmm.
it doesn't update to like stage status for me. Um, like for example, we have you there, right? And so
Correct.
we press that plus sign, right? From
Hmm.
right.
Okay.
So then it just sits as M. Then I
Hmm.
go up there, try to put first commit at the message box, and then
Okay.
I try to like press the check mark. It
Hmm.
doesn't do anything, for some reason. It just keep on like I see like a bar like going from left to right, like it's trying to read or something.
Hmm.
So then I just use the command mode, so I go in and do a commit, and then immediately that says that it is updated and the file is transferred. So for now, I'm like, okay, I don't want to like tamper with it much.
Okay.
Focus on the
So,
actual UI file.
mm, so that is fine. See, I mean, I gradually when we can play around. So for the meantime, if you're getting, not very much comfortable, stick to one branch so that
Mm,
it would be relatively easy. Whenever you
mm,
want to have different one, better create a new repository. So for
mm,
your each project, just keep one branch for
mm,
simplicity purpose,
mm,
so that once it is linked, you'll not have confusion of changing. Because sometimes problem is you
mm,
might have pushed half code in one branch and
mm.
rest of the half code in other branch, so there will be
Ah,
conflict.
yeah, yeah,
So it doesn't understand, so M or whether it's showing update or append. So it's like if half of the code has been pushed somewhere else and a half is going to some other branch, system doesn't understand now which files it has to take action, which files it
yeah.
has to publish.
And I
So
even went and deleted the system from the SAP BAS side to because that wasn't responsive at all. And then I noticed that now the screenshots, right? I was following the developer guide. The screenshot for the setting up like how you have to search for the extension, right?
mhm,
So we will go to the subscriptions option on the left panel, and then
yeah,
click on that and then search for business application studio, right?
right.
I think these people now have changed
That
it.
changed. Yeah, they moved to marketplace. I think I'll update that doc because recently, from last 2 weeks, that they have see what happened is In 2021, they rebranded a cloud platform, business technology platform, and they're moving and renaming lots of
It
field
is,
names.
yeah, you told that, right? You did mention it, keep changing because, they're actually a work in progress, right? So they are
Yes,
updating it constantly.
correct.
But that's a German thing, I think.
No, I think still 6 months it will take. Even BS product, see from the day we started also now also many plugins. See, if generator, if you see sometimes they get crashing. So they are, if every day one new update is coming. See, if you see this is what the uh, if you ask me this preview notes you are getting something right in that they
Mm.
are keep adding one or the new one and they are changing the approaches. The templates which they released for BS, just 1 month or 2 months back, all got
Yeah,
updated.
because when I first started like the class like last month, I was able to click on the subscription and that's how I created my
Correct,
system.
correct,
And I'm
correct.
like, what did I do wrong? And
That's the reason I'm saying. So things are changing. It is not very stable, but process is same. See, there is no change in the process. They are introducing new names. See, instead of subscription now we have to go and find a marketplace. So
mm,
that's like they are trying to rebrand certain things, and I cannot say that always certain products will change because we are still in the gray area.
right.
So but having said, BAS is going to stay, but it will take 6 months time for to stabilize because they are trying to see Web ID what all features they try to pack in. All they are
Yeah.
trying to bring into BAS platform, and they do not want to rush it. See, if they try to rush and bring all the features at one go, if it crashes, it loses. Like at the customers, if they're using BAS, they say Web ID was good and we do not want to go to BAS. And SAP is now in a stage it doesn't want to extend Web ID for long.
Mm.
It's still supporting it, but it want to move its whole platform from WebID to BS as soon as possible. Okay. So if learning on WebID doesn't make any good sense for us, because if WebID is going to be stopped very soon, if you learn all the access in WebID, again, catching up with BS, so certain
Yeah,
things how it works.
I just practiced everything on Visual Studio, and then when I once I got and um my preview applications also loads pretty because I started choosing the local one. The second option, when you're
Right.
doing,
Yes.
then
Correct.
then it is very instant. So if I make any code changes, I could see that's already like loading, so I don't have to go and refresh it like in SAP side. So I did everything on the Studio side. And then once
That.
I kind of got a login page similar to what you had, not exactly anywhere near the same, but then I kind of moved something to put it in the GitHub that I can share, like, later with you if I have some questions. So that is how what I'm following now.
So that's the
But
best one.
yeah.
Um, because what based on my experience what I notice is BA still it sometimes it takes time to load and it sometimes because of some updates because with trial edition they are the one they are trying to push all the new updates and it's very I mean not very stable. All of a
Mm,
sudden all our projects are stuck for quite a long time. So certain times it happens, but Visual
mm,
Studio Code, like I said, that's the right approach. Local environment, it's running on our own instance. So if you do not update or anything, also you'll still have the old copy. So it is working smooth.
mm,
And running local version is best option. So Visual Studio Code, both are same. If you see, technically they are using the same Visual Studio Code. It's just a branding. Again, that is a business of studio. This is Visual Studio Code. Both are the same. So that's why I'm saying
mm.
there is no change in any of the stuff. It's just SAP way of branding. So do practice in this. This is sufficient for us. This is a nice playground. Um, I think this just let me just now we had this one right.
Yeah.
So I'm just entering this. Now we added the console part. If you click on inspect, now I'm going to the console. So this now console is very much empty. Okay. So the moment I click on login, so if you see, it's I think there is an error. It says an error. So console.log. Okay. 3. Remove this. So technically, it will stop their execution. Let me check. Saved. This is saved. I'm making sure that file is saved. Now, if any error occurs, so straight away in the console, we'll be able to pinpoint. Now, I clear this. If we technically, if we enter and we check it, this one. So here, if you see, we are getting success if it is, username password is correct. So we enter the logic. If we incorrectly enter, if I click on login, it says as error. If you see the execution here, so each time which block it entered, we are able to understand now. You can try your functions this way and see if it is working or not. Now, if you see value one, value two, this logic is if it is going to success block, then it prints as success. And if it goes to error block, it prints as error. So this is how you can straight away check. Why I suggested this instead of this is, suppose there could be like mbox value or anything or any other control you haven't loaded, then you will keep on ending up with the error. But whether it is a logic error, whether it is a control error, I mean, when I say control, not the controller, so individual control. Now in this case, message box is a control. Okay, so message toast is a control. Whether it's due to any of the typo error or syntax error, so which kind of error is it to understand? So this kind of checks will allow you. So usually as a developer, we use this console.log and we have to comment this. So we should not actually use these are like for only the developer way of checking. So we should always replace them with the standard messages, because if you show this, technically it is correct, but end users will not know what's happening, whether it is a success message. Unless you show them, it keeps on saying that no, they'll not see any user behavior. If you see here, when I entered correct or wrong, always it's the same. It doesn't have any behavior. So user does not understand what's happening behind the scenes, whether whether it is application is responding, not responding. So but console.log gives us as a developers view that this logic, whatever logic we are intended it to execute, whether it executed or not, by simple console.log statement, we can pinpoint whether it is executing or not. There could be cases where make sure that here sometimes it shows this way. See, if you chose a black red color icon, that means it is not yet saved. Okay, make sure you save it, then it disappears, then only you run the application. So that is one simple thing which we might forget, and because of that also the execution etc will be a problem. And you're able to understand, right, how I mean why console.log we are doing it. So if
Yeah.
you any error as such also, whether your if condition logic is wrong or whether it is controls which we added on the next and 78 line, because of that controller is showing errors. So control errors will always see in the console, and all the view errors will see on the problem window of the IDE. So this is one quick check. There is one more typical error we face when we try to build is caching issue. What caching issue is? Now suppose you have written all the code, but if you check the same controller file, ideally if you check in this control O, if you press and you search for main controller, that means it will show you what is running on the server now right now. Okay, you see sometimes it code matches now. Still sometimes it can show you, instead we have written console.log, but it still shows you the mbox.success. Maybe it's not showing line 80, it's still showing the old code. That means it is cached version. It is still pointing to the old version. Because of that also we can get errors. So how do we resolve in that case is, we have something called you have to this reload button. Then you open this F12 is, if you select F12, then if you right click it, we get an option called empty cache and hard reload. This appears only if inspect elements is toggled. I mean, that means if we close this, then if I try, it doesn't get any option. It becomes simple reload button. But if I press this inspect element and then select here, it automatically appears. So this gives you to, it clears all the existing cache and it fetches freshly from the server. Getting it, it could be local, it could be anywhere, but you'll get the fresh code. So all the latest changes will appear generally. So by doing this way, we'll ensure that controller 5 pages, what are changes, latest changes are there, they're always reflecting here. Then
Mm.
we should start checking the console for the latest errors. So these are the ways by which we'll identify view issues, controller issues, then we'll try to resolve those issues. Clear?
Yeah, got it.
Okay. I think you can continue it. I think Git also, I think you are clear. I think you please try it. If you are stuck with any of these scenarios, just let me know. And at the end of this class, I'll give you small snippets of exercises.
Sure.
Probably it will help you to get familiar with more of writing the logics, etc. And uh, to continue with today, I'll just one simple topic. This is very simple topic,
Mm,
but very useful one,
mm,
called extensibility. So even like how the things are changing very way. Extensibility concept was very much it got lots of changes. What is extensibility, and when to use it, and how do we use it? So this is about we talk very quickly. So one of the main reason of extensibility is SAP solutions, all solutions are not meant for single customer. They're like for generic applications, be it all the solutions. So in the UFS space also, all the Fiori apps are generic apps. Generic apps, when I say, they are not meant for any single customer. They're meant for all customers, be it oil and gas, be it HR, be it any other area. For all areas, the Fiori apps are shipped as a common flavor. So they keep common things which are common across all the sectors and all the verticals, and they'll try to ship in the application. So they always, when they design Fiori app and they release into the market, they keep this as a thumbnail. So all the customers generally, these Fiori apps, one biggest mistake customers also right now, even we try to explain also, they are not they don't trust us, because only if SAP says, then only they trust it. Okay, when I have faced this, though I say that there's a better way, they don't listen to me. Okay, I just say, okay, fine. See, whatever you want, I'll try to give you. So if that is what you want,
yeah,
so I'm fine with it. So if, as long as if they are happy, that's what we are
yeah,
supposed to do, right?
right.
So what advantage with SAP Fiori is, Fiori, they'll give you common scenarios. There is a way to extend the features. That means what they're saying is, we have given you 50% of the code. Okay. And what this 50% of code is nothing but, see, 10 fields are displayed in your application. Now you want, just to add 5 more fields. Okay. This will complete your whole scenario. Correct. You're understanding, right? Suppose you have a timesheet application where you're using, you want to add some cost center. See, for which cost center this timesheet has to be booked. Okay. So that is a missing field, maybe. Okay. So if you add a particular field, maybe the UI, the way the controls are placed, etc., customer might have a different point of view, right? So he want to tweak the design, and he wanted to add one more, suppose 2 more fields, and that will solve his business use case, right? So in this case, certain scenarios, what we can do is, SAP suggests you can take the best application which is ready to use, and it will take you hardly 1 or 2 days to just tweak the application. See, the complete UI, you can tweak it, change it, and completely make it, the way customer needs it. See, if you want, it doesn't want the way it looks. Suppose you take this application, in this case, now we have this field, and you don't want this particular columns, etc., and you want to remove it, and you have wanted to place it on the left side on the main master detail page, or you want to create one more tab, and you just want to delete some of the tabs you do not want, and you want to play around this whole application, the way the fields are placed, etc., then pretty much standard Fiori apps can be tweaked. How do we tweak it? Using extensibility. So these cases, what customers do is, they simply say, build me custom application. Okay, they'll say, build it. We have our own requirements. Build it. So see, you are discarding this whole 50% of the SAP shipment, and you're trying to go for this one. So it's pretty much happy for as a developer, because you are getting new work and you are doing it. But that's not the good thing to do. Okay,
Mm,
so you can leverage when you have an option to leverage. They say, no, no, no. I think that doesn't fit our needs. They straight away rule out that it doesn't fit our needs.
mm,
Okay, so that's the some trying to understanding the bridging the gap, etc. takes. So see, for changing this extensibility, etc., for every application we have, where do we find, see, to what extent we can extend, and what are the things we can do? So in Fiori apps library, we have discussed both the sections, and there was one, if you noticed it, one section called extensibility. It's taking a while. So it'll take the last time, I think we were discussing about timesheet, right? Let me show you for timesheet. Any application, it's the same. So concept is same. So there is no difference as such. So in this case, if I am taking manage my timesheet, so if you see the implementation information tab, so there is a section called so extensibility. So installation configuration we have seen SSEF node activation, etc. And the last and final column would be extensibility. So here, if they mention it, what are the extension points? I think for this application currently there is no extension points, and I can take some other. For the particular version, we can check for this particular version. So I think these are cloud products, so they themselves give all customizations, I suppose. Let me check specific version. As a business suite, and we have yes. So if you see here, for see there could be use cases for the cloud. SAP manages everything. Okay, because there they don't give any extensibility. If you ask any feature, they tweak it and they give you, because managing etc. will be owned by SAP for the on-premise thing. If you see here, for this application called timesheet, this is the application name, and base application will have these kind of features. I think so. This is how it looks. So base application looks this way, and beyond this, what all additional fields or anything which we can tweak or change around is given here in terms of way in the view in the S3 view. So maybe to add a new column, week entry. So we can add a new column called like week-wise entry if you want to add. Currently there is a day-wise entry. If you want to add like week-wise, so there is an option to add. So they have given one extension point to accommodate this thing, and to add a create new entry. So if you want to add, if suppose create entry, there's one new form you're opening it. There are like only two set of actions there, and to extend to add some more fields into that, you can directly add new fields in this particular form. So that within the application they call S3 one view. Okay, like how we have given main view, sub detail view, etc. in our application. These are just view names. Okay, previously they used to call each page's names with this convention S1, S2, so kind of names. And in the controller logic also they have see month change, like the function which we have written, like login is a function, sign up as a function. So likewise in the month change function you can extend it, in the timesheet calendar function you can extend it, get username, update data. So these are like within the controller which all methods uh, you can tweak around, they have given it. So what exactly they mean is, see I'll tell you. So if you open one simple service, anything. So I'm just opening one simple service here. Suppose assume this as a timesheet OData service. Okay, so just for understanding approach, I think it's let me select one record. So in this case, what we are trying to say is, in the view or anywhere, there could be currently we are using only 4 fields out of available fields, and in the OData or in the table we have 10 or 12 fields. See, complete table, what are the new fields we have, all the fields we can always extend it, but certain fields SAP in the application we may not have used the rest of the fields. So extensibility is nothing but trying to enable these fields. So the same information they try to package in a this way. So in the S2 view there's a table called column. There's a column that is a table where you have a week entry. So week related fields, there could be certain fields. So these could be week related fields where created at, created by, etc. So these fields they allow us to extend. So we'll know to what extent. See, while base application build, it will have all the things. If your customer is doing using a T code, that means it is very much all the features are available in Fury as well. Only thing is they are hidden. You're getting it right. So if customer says I'm able to use the transaction code to achieve my task, but in the Fury app there are like some missing fields because of which it is useless. They say this scenario. If they are saying such a scenario, that means we can come here to Fiori application and we can check to what all SAP has allowed a flexibility, given flexibility as to extend to what extent. So then we can check. We can see in case of timesheet, there's a week table. In the week table, we can extend all the columns. So suppose this is an entity set which represents week, then we can check those fields which all the other fields. So everything which is possible in T code, generally as a thumb rule, will be available for Fiori apps as well. Only thing is we need to find the right extension points. So this is the point number one. Okay. So now we understood that all Fiori apps can be extended. It's not that whatever SAP gives, only those things we can use it, no? Right? So we can extend further all the apps. There are like different types of extensions. So say suppose removing a completely view. So in this case, if you see our application, if there is a application where you are using multiple pages or different sections, you want to remove it. So we used to have view replacement or deleting fields, just like CRUD operation, how we used to have in the extension. Also we have editing, modifying, etc., these kind of things. These all from last Fiori 1.0 and 2.0, we used to do everything manual activity. Like manually we used to have a plugin, like how we have templates. We used to have extension wizard, and using that extension wizard we used to through coding we used to remove those fields, etc., and we used to, through coding only, we used to add and extend. Now they simplified this whole process, and in terms of, they branded as flexibility services. Okay, there's a new category for extension called flexibility services, which is nothing but one of the flavor is AdaptUI. So what I'm trying to say is the latest one, which are very new, and you don't have to do any. These all are manually finding out whether it's possible, etc. They made a simple drag and drop approach. So to get your hands on the new approach, so all you have to do is we have S4 Hana, so S4 Hana Cloud. So trial, this is a URL. So AdaptUI will be available on S4 Hana products only. So if you are on running on old, is an approach called to use it. But S4 Hana trial directly cloud product, we can try it out for a 14-day trial. We have it. So this is S4 Hana Cloud edition, and this is a 14-day trial. So you can just the URL, I'll be sharing it. So this URL you just have to log in, and then once you click on start your 30-day trial, so it will give you two options. Okay, just agree to it. Like we can check all the S4 HANA apps. See your SAP ID, whatever you're using, it same ID, or it will be added. You can just make a note of this if required. Generally, it doesn't prompt anywhere, but you can, if you sign out and tomorrow you log in, if at all required, you can use this particular. Then just click on start trial. So this will take you to trial page. This is a page I have logged in already. So it will take you to this page. So this is where you can explore all the Fiori S4 HANA apps, etc., everything. So this is your, you can play around with other things, but for the AdaptUI part to have it, you can practice it here. So here you have, there are like some apps they have given. So plan your project, record your time, review your project. So there are like certain apps here. So for the finance apps also we have. So these are like S4 HANA cloud apps. Like how I have shown you the on-premise one, ES4 demo system launchpad. This is the S4 HANA latest one.
Yeah.
Cloud, right? So you can play around with this. So for today's success, you can take any in the project management group. I'm just trying to take one application, and
Or record your time would be perfect.
okay, let's see. Yes, I think so. If it asks, if you can go with the guided approach or anything, so manage my timesheet or anything is there. Which one you want to try?
Manage
So
my timesheet.
manage my timesheet. Okay, sure. So there are like
Check.
other apps as well, project management, account payable. So any of the applications we can pick it up. So far the one which we are seeing the apps library, right? So you could see the first hand of this manage my timesheet. This is the same application now we are trying to access. Okay, so this is how the S4 HANA latest cloud. In the cloud they ship it. See, this is how in the cloud what they do is The moment you subscribe, you'll get all the apps what you require. No administration, nothing. Everything is managed by SAP. All you need to do is purchase. Less like Netflix, we purchase it, we get access to all the content. All you need to do is play around with it. So in the on-premise space, like we said, we have to tweak around and we have to manage the whole ecosystem, like installing, configuring, etc. So that's the difference between cloud product and the on-premise version. So technically, that's not the only thing. There are like many other things. That's the basic thing. Okay. So now we have a certain features. Just let's play around a little bit. So to understand better the UI, then we can understand about how to extend each area. Now here we have certain say here we are able to add a task, and uh, we are just adding it. Let me can add, I'm able to add edit it. I think here itself I have to edit it. Yeah. So the moment I select it, duration, I'll write a description. Administration task, how what all we have done. So configured today, Fury app. Okay, timesheet app. Okay. This is my timesheet task for this today. I'm just saying it, and I'm just saving and submitting. So I added one task for Monday, that this is what I have done, and I have saved it. Okay. So this is how timesheet appears. Let me check. So we'll play around a bit. So for which week, etc. we have. So total hours here it shows as 41 hours, etc. for that particular week. And I think that's the only view we have currently. Okay. So here it gives us a week calendar, and it gives different tasks, etc. And if you want to create any task here, they have given an create task option here in this window. Okay. I think here they haven't enabled us to create the task by ourselves. So what we can do is either we can use existing tasks or we can just create the task. So here we can close, if you want close this panel, we can close it, and this is a full view of how we have. So week wise the calendar loads, and then we just try to add, you click on the each week and then try to add the hours this way. So this is how the simple worksheet works. So 10 hours, extending app. So every day when they come, they just enter the hours under which are the tasks they're doing, just they'll save it. So in this case, the user they do not have the access to create the task. If only the predefined task they can use, they click on open task. If miscellaneous acted other than the regular task if they're doing, they'll select it, and then they can, now in this case automatically the moment whatever you select it, instead of administration tasks, now it got changed to miscellaneous tasks. So miscellaneous task, maybe I have worked for 1 hour. I just say 1 hour, and then I'll say training some, I'll just save it. So it says as save and submit, and it has been saved. So this is how we are able to play around. Now let's see how whether we can extend this or not. So if you see on the right corner, there's an option called AdaptUI. I select this AdaptUI. These are admin tools, just like how we have Launchpad, Designer, etc. So here we have in this adaptation layer, we will be able to play around, and if you click on it, it says either cut or add. So I'll select this here, and I'll select its timesheet on behalf of. So now what I'm saying is, instead of for me, I wanted to on behalf of your ID, I'm just trying to book the timesheet I wanted to have. So I just wanted to add that option as well. Now what I did is I just added on top as managing timesheet on behalf of. So which are the user drop down, it will prompt which are users I am authorized. Maybe you have given me permission to manage on your behalf. Okay, then I'll get an option to select your name, and I can book timesheet on your behalf. Maybe I'm a manager, maybe I'm collecting manually the Excel sheets, and then I'm trying to process for the whole team as such. And any areas where you will want to remove, we can place a cursor out there, and we'll get the options to remove, etc. So in this case, if you want to remove this, I can remove this, and if I wanted to remove this icon as well, I just remove, or if I want to add any content, so I can place create task here and submit week option button here. So I'm creating this buttons here, and I do not want it here. I just want to remove it here. And open task also, I just wanted to move it here. So I'll bring it to the left. Say if you notice it, I'll just publish it and then I'll save it. So this is like we can play around straight away. I'll save and exit. If you see the application now,
Mm.
come back. Let's recheck the application now. If you see, we have all options on the left, and I think something we have removed it on the top as something essential one. The view on the left is not appearing. Okay, close my tasks, create task. So this tool, what it does is like, I think we have to play around a little bit with
Yeah.
what kind of extensions we have for my timesheet and
It
to
shows us the various options, flexibility that we have got, right?
correct. So this is like you can place on any section and you can play around with that section. So AdaptUI it straight away without actually through wizard adding this extension point what I have shown without actually manually adding all the code through editor. What they have done is they are managing internally. They know all the fields. They know all the area which is available. So we can always reset this. So there is no
Mm.
issue if you are if you fail to get the desired output, you can always reset it. It will go to the standard app version,
Mm.
and we can plug and play with it. It restore to the existing behavior because we messed it up. I think something got lost the whole left panel, so we are
Mm.
just trying to play around again. So in this case, now what we do is we'll carefully add something. So let's see here. In this case, let me try to remove this. Completely got removed. Okay, undo it. I just wanted to play around with one or the other fields. So we can just hover on each area. So if we want to add one button over here, so it gives us, it shows it's disabled now. That means there are no extensible points available for here.
Okay,
Okay.
got it.
So if we try to add it, it allows to remove one task. So, my God, it's removing the whole
So it
thing.
looks
Generally,
like a list.
correct, correct. So we have all the complete fields, whatever we have, everything will be shown here. And we can add it into the existing areas. So if we wanted to tweak around, we can tweak around with any of the fields. So I think in this case, there are like certain, very minimalistic UI changes we see. Here only the task part and this thing. Let me,
Mm-hmm.
we can play around with this as well. Let me take one more example and see, because there are like many things we can do. Save and exit. So technical error, cannot read property changes of undefined. Okay, certain property changes. Employment, remote. You have a label. See, there are like only 3 exchange points here are available, which says is adding employment, adding managed timesheet week submitted, and 2 we added. Only thing which is left is employment label. Okay, so these are the only 3 actions point we have for this particular example. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
if you add all the 3, it will show us a week wise submission. It will show, and it will show to manage on behalf of others. And there is a label called employment label. So employment maybe it could be, it would show for current for which account or department we are trying to book the timesheet, etc. So like limited exchange points are available in this case. Only closing task and booking the timesheet. So this, yeah, why did it disappeared? Okay, I think this is a running output itself. So we can save this. Let me reload. There is one interesting video. So I'll just, so if you see, this is how the output looks. So I think the data, if we should have the relevant data, then we'll be able to relate to this. So week-wise submitted, etc. options were earlier not there. Now we were able to see these particular details. So we have to map these particular details as well then we'll be able to see these things. And let me go to one more scenario where we have better visibility of playing around with these things. I have played around with this particular one. Let me see if it helps us. So within the project management, we have one more app. So I have played around a bit with plan, customer projects,
Mm-hmm.
etc. And so I know that there are like certain lots of extension points out. So let's see if it helps. See, idea what I'm trying to say is, see, the reference what are you saying? You need not to you need not to go through the coding approach using AdaptUI. All the extension points what are listed out there. You can come here, and if it says as a weak S3 view, etc., that means the view. This is your master view. This is your detail view. So you can play around with the data around it. So now this application called Plan Your Customer. So I'll try to add some data here. There is no data. So I'll take some customer name, project ID, project name, So this is actually meant for project planning, this particular application. And we are just using it, we are just trying to add one entry here. Controller. Yes. There are some users out there, so business partners. So we are assigning this particular project details to this particular role. Project controller, we are assigning one, role, etc. And for this user, we are assigning this particular task. Okay. So it's just saving one entry to valid input. Okay, I'll select existing entry out there. So we have a customer called Bike World. So for the Bike World, I just saved one entry. I'm just creating one basic entries here. So data. So managing, a project, we have options to, maybe it's an, you consider as an automobile parts dealer. So we wanted to, procure one part. For suppose in this case, there's a All Bikes is a customer name. For All Bikes customer, we are just trying to procure some automobile components, and for that, accounting, etc. We are doing it. So for managing that part, we might be using this particular application. Now we are giving some unique name like accessories. Okay, I'll say name as accessories, and this is some ID I have given it, and procure is to fit some description I have given it, some different dates than previous one. Okay. From customer development. So here I'll assign to some other role. This is playing around with the data, that's it. So there is nothing to understand or anything. This is like we are just playing around with existing application data. So this the functionals will be able to better explain what suits this particular data, what kind of data suits for this particular application, etc. But for us, from developer point of view, what we are trying to understand, we have an application, we have an existing data, and what we are trying to say is based on customer scenario, the UA or the areas they tend to use regularly. We are trying to tweak that. So now we have lots of columns here. If you see the data for the selected, we have left side, we have master panel where it says accessories and adaptation. And when we select it, it shows the corresponding project IDs and the customer name, duration, what we selected there, project manager. And you have different criteria like work packages, work item, billing, any attachments are there. So there are like lots of other sections got auto populated the data. So if you see here, we have for the project for which country, we had customer project. So lots of fields are there. So we can play around with more fields to tweak around. So that's the reason I have just suggesting this. Now let's try to see what all we can tweak around. Now we select AdaptUI. We got lots of fields here. So if you want to add some new complete area here, so in this case we have this. So we can directly click on add group. So create group. We'll create a new group altogether. So here I can say is, cost. I can say as cost. Some new section I try to add it. So automatically a new section got added. Now I can select on it and add a field in it. Now we have all the fields available on the roaded service. Now previously what I was trying to show, in this case we had all the fields, right? So
Mm.
all the fields in the OData surveys are directly visible here. If you see project ID, planned cost, planned effort, etc. So if you have a relatively relevant use case where you have more extensibility options, then the adaptation UI looks more appropriate, because it all depends on use case. Now in this case, cost related parameters, what all are there? There could be lots of other fields which are not yet displayed as of now. No revenue as sold. So those parameters I'm trying to plan cost. Those everything in your procurement cost. I have created a group and I'm trying to try to provide them at a single place. Now I can save this, and then those new fields will be added. Now we have a separate group called procurement cost. If you see, we can go to on the header. We have some fields as well. So here we can just hover on this. It will tell us if you want to remove existing field. Suppose here we have project manager. We do not want to have this particular field. Then we can just simply remove it. So that will be removed. And if you want to edit the name of this particular thing also, we can edit the existing descriptions, etc. So modify the titles. So instead of accounting, we can say as billing. Okay, billing details, etc. So what are they wanted to play around with field names, field additional fields addition, all the fields which we have in OData surveys with the plug and play easily we can add, etc. We can regroup them, we can remove them. Now in this case there are like role and project business part of we have. Suppose we want to add some more columns into it, so we can add a column here. So what all columns are available currently? Apart from the change down, also we have employment order ID, we have project ID as well. Suppose out of all the fields these three are relevant, you can select it. So additional fields will be automatically you'll be able to extend a table. If you see the table previously we had only 2-3 options, now we are able to show them additional columns as well. And likewise on the left side area also, if you want to add anything, so here we want to suppose there is no room for here. So suppose in the planning status, etc., we want to remove it. So we can remove that particular part and we can add it one more area as well. I think here we don't have extensions to add anything. So if any fields we have, automatically here what all actions we can do, we'll be able to get it. So let me save and exit. So whenever we load this particular application, if you go back to home, so we'll be able to see the new changes. These are like admin tool, only not everybody would be providing. So this action will be limited to what all people we wanted to give access, so we can restrict. So whenever they load the application, they'll see the new changes. Now if you see in this case, we had the billing details as a tab and procurement cost as a new section, and the tabular data will be changed on employee ID, etc. So this is how the new changes you'll get to know. Now the standard fee area we have tweaked it, and relatively without any effort we're able to achieve maximum potential of the fee area application, right?
Mm.
So we could remove, even from the customer project, we could remove the project manager or something was there, and we try to remove that field. So we are able to play around. So SAP, not only the SAP standard Fury app, they'll give the extension points, and all the extension points can be, without any technical go, even the non-technical users, the functionals can, if they're trained on how to tweak around, they can straight away do themselves. As a developer also, instead of coding, we can use this approach to tweak around. So this will be pretty much smooth way. Only thing is you need to understand the use case. In this case we don't, and if you don't really understand the use case, we may not be able to better deliver the output. So if we have to just same process of how we develop any new application, we just have to understand from the customer what all they want, how do they want to do their day-to-day tasks, what are the
Yeah.
fields they need, and if any of these fields are irrelevant, if we have to ask them, sir, does margin, etc., staging, etc., does it really help you out? So that functionals will be able to drive it right way. So they'll be able to understand what are their use cases and the day-to-day use cases. And once we have a clear understanding of how this application data is used, then we can tweak around, we can rename it. But how do we do it? This is how simple it is. Clear, right?
Yeah, because that procurement cost, adding a group, I can imagine like a newbie like me, I would have spent 2 days to figure that out if I were to do the coding.
Correct. It's not exactly, see, there could be many gray areas. But technically speaking, see now here, any field anywhere, any tab. See, if you want to remove all the completely tab, it would be how much time it would take you. Just imagine. Though you
Yeah,
change, you have to move to quality, you
yeah.
have to move to production, then you have to get your things ready. But here it is like pretty much, very instant. And its advantage is if you rely on developer, the stability of code can be, you have to thoroughly test it. But this is SAP ship tool where you're not actually touching any code. So the code is already written by SAP. All you are doing is you're just toggling the whether to enable the features or we have to disable the feature.
So the user people or the functional configuration
Hmm.
I would say functionality is mostly effective in the cloud-based system than the folks who've just moved to the HANA database, right?
It's not only cloud, it's available on S4HANA as well. For the demonstration part, I just have taken a trial edition. That's it.
Yeah, I
Okay,
mean this S4 HANA, right? Because a
correct.
lot of
S4.
like my client here, we just only like moved to the like just barely went from Oracle to HANA. That's it. So
Okay.
we are ending up with the like the add-ons, right? That
Mhm.
you were mentioning earlier. So barely there.
Then you
Um,
will not have this option at all yet. Yet.
yeah, yeah.
Yet.
So the early in the class you mentioned that as well. That so that's what I think we will have to manually tweak it.
Correct.
Uh,
So I'll explain that approach as well. So we'll do that approach as well. But you need to understand these are like latest things. So there the challenge was it goes through the same process of a custom application development, manually adding extension points, etc. So that is also an extension as available. Like I said, we have to go to the in the code. We have to pull out the code first, and then we have to make new entries in this particular views as suggested. Now in the S3 view, we have to make an entry in order to have this to achieve this particular additional functionality. And this is not the application. So where we have seen the application.
I think the
So here we have seen it. So we have to go to this particular you understand, right? So how we are building the application, we have to go to respective view application. So in this case, the extension point might have mentioned as S3 view. Suppose this is an S3 view. So we have to just go to this particular column area, and then we have to manually add the code. So that's how the difference will be there. So
wow.
see the same column, you'll have the field here. It will say as created at. What you'll do is you go to code. So like how you're adding a new column here, new suppose input label we are adding it. We just have to manually add an entry here using that particular created entry. So I'll say label. So it looks after looking at it, this looks like why should we do this? But that's the latest way of SAP has SAP is simplifying many things. Okay,
Yeah.
so you have to just create this way. Okay, like just plain coding you'll do, but only thing is like the new fields are available to you now. Okay,
Yeah. But
so
I'm
you'll just
happy that when I look at this, at least that we are not on the S4 HANA, I think I'll get to keep my job.
it's not a see. There are like many other activities. See, don't worry. SAP, they are trying to simplify both developers' job as well as end users' job. See, if they want to deliver in less time. See, if customer is coming and is trying to use Fiori applications, they should not end up right. Even I'm using standard Fiori apps. Why the development time is taking so long? So
Mm.
that is a customer pain point. See, it should be plug and play. I am purchasing this license with this much of license as for HANA, but you are still saying that it will take me months to just launch one application.
Yeah, very
So
valid point. Yeah.
so customer point of view, they just wanted to queue it. See, if they say AdaptUI, sir, previously we used to say that for even standard, because I said common applications, it is like meant for common generic apps. But from customer point of view, it is useless to him. Sir, you're saying though common, if I'm using Fury apps, you say plug and play, but it is not a plug and play. To
Mhm.
bridge that gap, they are bringing this flexibility services where they say, sir, it's truly plug and play. Now you tweak, you ask your developer or you ask your functional guy, they'll be able to guide you and how to tweak around and how to make it ready. So we are able to make it ready right within in an hour. Maybe you'll take a day or two, but still customer is happy because
Mm.
he's able to leverage all the 12,000 apps for his own scenarios if required.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is a factor for fear apps. We should have this particular approach. For custom UF apps, again, you anyhow you'll manually you'll tweak around, but certain use case at least you're able to bridge that time to deliver. So that's the benefit of this particular approaches. So newer approaches, we still keep SAP launches. We have to keep understanding them, and we have to follow the latest according to the client needs. So I think this is you can access try this one. Tomorrow I'll try to we'll try to see the custom scenarios where you for what we call, yeah, for the use case also
Sure.
let me tell you.
Yeah.
So this is all you have to do is sign up here. Then I think you are pretty much understood like how
Mm.
to go to the fields, etc. So you can play around with couple
Yeah.
of projects. They're like other projects, so you can explore other projects how they are looking, etc. These are like a bunch of S4HANA latest, lots of other apps you have. So you can just have a look how they have. So if you are so keen, you can look at their code as well. So how do we look at the code? So suppose there is a schedule inbound delivery creation. So these are like all standard apps, like 12,000 reference app you have. So you can check
Mm.
12,000 different developers how they have built. So you can have all the logics on your hand. So just try
Mm.
to understand how the big benefit you are going to have. See,
Mm.
whatever we try to build are like just our point of view. An app can be built in so many other different ways. Each developer has their own, you know,
Yeah.
way of building it. So there is no right or wrong. Uh, all at the end of the day, the use case should be usable by the end user.
Mm.
Okay. So here,
And
this
should
see
be
when I yes,
fast.
yes. So here with the code in in this case I just selected right clicked it, and if you go to source tab, um, you will find this particular pages. It shows in this way. This is where like all grouped it without in spaces. There's a small you see here. This is we call it as pretty printer. Okay, the two curly braces here. You click on
Mm.
this, it will automatically make it very nice readable way. Okay, the whole logics. So the logics written here are here. So this is all your don't get by looking at the code for the first time, don't get scared.
Yeah,
So
I'll pass out.
they're like you have to like small logics we write. So add billing update. So if you say like if you compare with the login screen, you have a variable, you pick the data, play around these variables. So the new information you try to assign it. So after the logic, whatever comes, you set that value to the UI. So that's how we break the code and into functions. If you see add partner, add new line item. So each
Mm.
of the logic block will be separate functions to you in JavaScript. So you take one at a time. So you will not build all the application at one go. So login, we have seen one simple logic where UI and field. There could be other action, like in this case, go. If you say the moment you search this particular entries, suppose if I say scheduled, if I say glow, idea is on click of go, we have to write a function which
Mm.
reads the data from this particular input value
Right.
and processes it and assigns the data to the table. So we
Mm.
have to take one at a time. We should not build a whole application at single shot, but we should take one field at a time and one action at a time. So in this case, all action has corresponding controller logic and everything will have a corresponding UI. So UI element and controller always they are in sync. So if there is any error, we just troubleshoot it. But now what I'm trying to say is you can just look at the UI and just I was saying, but you can later point of time you can go in detail to understand the code, etc. But for the time being, you can just see how the things are built, etc. So what are we are learning are best ways and best practices. The standard application will give us some sometimes SAP is the same 850 controls. By looking at this example, we'll say, okay, even this kind of approach also we can build. So we'll get some new ideas of how to present the UI.
Mm.
So maybe we are always sticking to one uh, type of approach. Like I'm used to HBox, VBox based or layouts. Maybe they might have a better way of organizing. If you see each apps, they are having a different flavor of it. Now, if in this case, if you see, they're having a totally complete new way of looking at it. They are not just the layouts. Beyond layouts, they are trying to present their data. So these all are like takeaways from this S4 HANA. So S4 HANA is like latest apps which SAP has built. So we'll get to use it. I think there could be some test data. We have to play around with certain. I'll just search data. So once I add certain data, so visualizations I'm getting it. And here also let me add a storage location. So first of all this apps looks dummy, but we have to add certain data, then we'll be able to play around with them. If you see, there are like, if you see how nice it looks, there's a chart out there. I think there, if I add some more data, let me see if I can play around with it. So these are like micro charts. We call it as micro charts. So here they are using some micro charts, and below if you are uploading etc. So nicely they have given a UI. These all are like built in UI itself. If you see, nice form. See, they have a pop-up dialog, and they for attachments they are giving a nice icon. See, it's like how we try to use the base controls. These are like, if you see the same input box, the label itself. Here, if you see, for the login whatever we are trying to use, but how they are using it, the size factor or the positioning, see, all are there, they are center aligned, and they are you have everything to the, instead of left side all are aligned, on the right side they are on equal side. This one, if you see stock change, they are not actually, these all are not left to left aligned, they are all right aligned. If you see the form labels, if you see our login application, we have used left align. I think it seems silly, but look wise when we
Yeah,
have the output.
I was
So
trying to also today do that right alignment.
yeah, see here they are saying here we have kept left alignment. So if we add too many columns, uh, what the difference here is, these input values will become up and down or left and right disoriented. But if you follow for the labels, this approach, if you see here for the labels, these all are aligned, because you have for this label can go anyway. See, your input field should be clean and neat, then it gives you nice appealing of a form, correct?
Mm.
So these are like some best ways of the building the forms. So by looking at it from developer point of view, we look at these points of view.
Mm.
If your end user looks at it, looks at the functionality point of view.
Mm.
Okay, that's a point of view difference, and this helps us in building better applications. If you see how they are positioning the column names, etc., and
Mm.
buttons also. And if you see in any application, they'll either go with center aligned or the left aligned. In UI5 apps, all are on the right aligned,
Mm.
like buttons, post, cancel, etc. Any actions we tend to put it on the right. And in the custom UFI apps also, if you try to follow the same approach, there's very important point. Why, if I fill the whole forms here, and the moment I attach it, if the time to move from here to here, if you're reducing it 1 second or 2 seconds, then for standard apps, if they are going to the right, they are used to right, going to right, and your custom apps you're trying to bring to the
Also,
left.
also right-handed people finds it easy. Left-handed people finds it difficult.
Correct. So each each of these parameters they have thought enough. So if custom apps we trying to use the left, and on the they'll be very much annoyed. See, when they're using it, Arya, it used to be on the right side. Why is it on the left? So
Mm.
they are not used to it. Then the flow of execution will be delayed. You 2 seconds, 3 seconds in a year, they'll turn out to 30 minutes. So you are losing 30 minutes of your productivity. So everything matters. So the UI actions also indirectly they matter this way. Okay.
Right.
So that was just quick. And so just you can explore some more apps. There are lots of apps out there,
Mm.
and we get some. So just look at see, if you see here. There's one more. This footer. If you see, this is a floating footer. We call it as. If you add many columns, this always floats. It's not stick
Mm.
to the base. Okay. Floating footer is one way. So when you scroll data, you always want your icons to be visible. Then you can use those data, etc. I think certain functionality is not there, but so this is cross app navigation we call it, redirected to different application altogether. So this is how we'll use from one application we can directly go to other application straight away using simple button click. We call this approach as cross app navigation. So from one app, all the data we can pack it up and we can take it to other application. So
Mm.
this way we have if you have 10 apps from single app, they can do seamlessly. They need not always go back to home screen and then select the search for that application, manage, in this case manage inspection, and they need not to come this way. See, the same way, both are same. Now, previously I clicked on a button and it came to this. Now, by manually selecting the tile, I came to here. You're able to understand, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're able to relate how. So
Yeah,
I think you get used to it. So what we are trying to do is like all the apps can be integrated in a single application as well. So there are other concepts. So this, as we do the exercises, we'll use all these scenarios. Then you'll get more familiarized. But to give a simple shot, you can try exploring and check the code if required. Then we'll see